Hello, everyone. Today I have a special guest, Michelle, who's going to be joining us and telling us just a little bit about her client journey. We have put her through multiple dieting and building phases. So she's been along for the long haul. We were just talking, she just hit her 3-year anniversary. She started in September of 2019. So thank you for being here. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
So the first thing I want you to just go through is I like people to tell us why they started this whole client journey in the first place. So why did you reach out? Why did you ask for help? And then we'll kind of dive into like your processes.
Okay. Well, like you said, I started 3 years ago and I was about 3 months out from a trip to Africa to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. And despite working out 6 days a week, I was not losing weight. I was not at a weight that I was very happy with. So I came to you looking to lose 10 to 15 pounds, hoping that I could basically offset the weight of my day pack. So what they would allow us to carry on our backs was about 12 pounds. And I thought, gosh, if I had 10 to 15 pounds less on my body, add the backpack back on, I can do this hike. So my first initial goal was to lose that weight. We had a definitive date. I knew what day I was getting on the plane to go to Africa. And I do believe I lost 13 pounds in that, probably about 12 weeks, I think it was. So met that first goal, but I think it was probably 2 to 3 weeks before I left that I looked at you and I said, I'm really enjoying this macro tracking and love everything that I've learned. I want to stick with it, but I knew myself well enough to know that if I did not have a date or some type of super definitive end goal, that I was going to come back and lose my focus. So I asked you, what might a new goal look like for me? And you gave me a couple of different options, but then you said, have you ever considered bodybuilding? And I think my jaw probably hit the floor and I said, no, I don't know anything about it. And you said, well, it's a possible goal. Otherwise, you could just have a date for a photo shoot, or if you have a wedding or a class reunion, you could focus on a date like that. Those goals all felt really soft to me, but the bodybuilding goal intrigued me. So I looked into it. And I think about 1 week later, I was on your desk, in front of your desk saying, sign me up, let's try this.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, you were working out 6 days a week already, right?
Yes.
And so what did you really change to start seeing the results that you started to see?
Well, I think a lot of people that you meet, and I would say that I've been meeting, have a tendency to undereat and overwork. I was overworking, but I was not undereating. And I'm pretty sure I sat at your desk 3 years ago and told you that I felt like I was eating pretty healthy. And I really believed that. But I was working out 6 days a week. I was doing high intensity boot camp workouts, loved doing it, felt like I was most certainly getting stronger and I was definitely building muscle, but I wasn't losing weight. I wasn't losing body fat. And the reason I felt like I was eating healthy was because I had gone gluten-free in the past. I had learned a lot about reading labels. I had, I knew what I was supposed to be eating. I had done Beachbody 21-day fix. Felt like I knew my plate's supposed to have protein. It's supposed to have carbohydrates. It's supposed to have fruits and vegetables. But what I didn't know was I had no idea how much of any of those things I was really supposed to eat. So I just found myself, honestly, I wasn't gaining weight, but I felt like my body was looking stockier, if you will, because I was building muscle without losing any weight. I had never dialed in the nutrition. So I was hooked on the working out component, but I just didn't know what to do with the nutrition. So it was it was an eye-opening experience to go gluten-free and learn about ingredients and how your body processes different ingredients, what works, what doesn't work. And it was another huge eye-opening experience when I went to tracking macros. Because it's a puzzle of how many carbohydrates without going over in fat, getting the protein without going over somewhere else. And so it took a lot of, the first 2 weeks was kind of overwhelming figuring it out. And then again, I got hooked on that, realizing I just didn't know what a serving size was. So I might have chips and salsa, and didn't realize I was having 4 or 5 servings of chips. And at that point, I've given my body 0 protein and all kinds of inflammatory carbohydrates and very few veggies. I was just eating the wrong things. And again, just didn't have the concept of serving size. And like most people, I was drastically under eating protein.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of like customized nutrition, right? Is like we look at each person individually, and we say, what does this person actually need to be successful in whatever their goal might be, right? So talk about your transition in your workouts then, because you started off with me just nutrition. We were only doing nutrition together. And then as we set this goal for bodybuilding, you started to transition the way you train a little bit. So talk a little bit about that and how your training has changed.
Okay. Like I said, I was doing the burn workouts and definitely felt like I was building some muscle. And so when I dialed in the nutrition, I was seeing results. And in fact, for that first 12 weeks, I probably saw you approximately every 4 weeks. And every time I came to see you, you gave me more food because I was losing weight and I was being consistent. I was doing what I needed to do. When you suggested that I start to strength train and I came and tried a class at CFS, I was really resistant to leave my burn community because I had gotten to know the faces in the gym and those people were challenging me and that kind of thing. And I quickly realized that same community was at CFS. You just had to make the transition. What I didn't realize was how much I would enjoy strength training. I don't think I was fearful of it, but I would have never walked into, say, Princeton Club and attempted to strength train on my own. So learning the form, learning what weight to start at and sort of how to get into all of it was really helpful to do in a setting where there was a trainer, and there was still a community. So I had the community component and I had the essentially personal training component because there was a trainer there teaching me what to do. I found that I had spent probably about a year and a half working out in my basement before I went to burn. And I was doing the work every day, but I really found that when I stepped into a community where there was a trainer, I was being pushed to go for those extra couple of reps or try 2.5 or 5 pounds heavier. And that's something that you just don't do in your basement. So I just was very surprised at the fact that I think like most people, I was programmed to believe that I had to work really hard and do cardio, and go for an 8-mile run and do this high intensity stuff and maybe even do 2 a days. And that wasn't the case. In fact, I'm pretty sure one of the first things you said to me upon starting contest prep was no cardio. And at first, and you asked me, are you going to have a hard time with that? Because I know you really like to run. And I think my first reaction was, no, that's music to my ears. But I got 2-3 weeks in and was missing the cardio. But then I started to see results instantly and realized that strength training, it wasn't making me bulky. It wasn't making me, it was definitely replacing what I had before that I loved. This, I feel like it just gives me more confidence. Like you're altering your body in a different way. And I know that I'm doing good things for my health 10 and 20 years from now by doing the strength training. So I'm 49. So going to high intensity interval training, boot camp style classes, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. I, a lot of times doing those movements would do modifications because I was scared to death I was gonna, tear an ACL or rupture an Achilles tendon or something like that. So I really wanted to do something that was, I don't want to say age appropriate, but something that I didn't have to fear injury with.
Yeah. And we see people transition out of that style training all the time, right? Because we have people that are like, we're getting injured, my body's just not recovering. And so one of the things that I would also say is that there's probably more focus on rest periods.
Yes.
In our style training, progressive overload, we're having you track your weights. And so you're seeing on a weekly basis, right? If you're getting stronger, if you're progressing, and just a little bit more focus on that too. Would you agree?
Definitely. And, a couple of times a year, we do the testing where we actually are trying to see what our one rep max is. And I really look forward to that week when we do that, because it is that indicator of exactly what you've put into the gym over, 3 or 4 different 6-week sessions. And you get to see what that progress, because some of the sessions are volume based, some are strength based. And, we just came out of one where it was time under tension. And so when you're doing these different things, it's nice to go back and do that testing and realize, wow, I can do 20 pounds heavier in a deadlift than I could last time, or whatever the lift is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think, well, first off, I want you to talk a little bit because you're in the thick of it right now. So for those that don't know, Michelle is currently in a contest prep season. So in order, to do bodybuilding well, you have to be very, very lean and muscular. And so I just want you to talk a little bit about your time commitment, like what that looks like right now. Because I think sometimes people are like, oh, I could never do that. It's good. Like it becomes your life and all this kind of stuff, which, yeah, it is a lot of dedication. But talk to me about like how much time you have to commit, like on a daily, weekly basis.
I really don't commit much more time now than I was as a nutrition client. So if I come to the gym, I come 4 to 5 days a week. I definitely come on the strength training days. So let's just say 4. That's a 1-hour class. You currently have me on 3 times a week, 30 minutes of cardio on top of the class. I do something on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but I have a tendency to do my own, maybe a 45-minute cardio. And whether that's, treadmill, elliptical, or whether I do something in my basement. So I would say, let's call it 6 days a week times 1 hour, plus the 3 times 30 minutes of cardio. The other time commitment would be the food prep. I'm a creature of habit, so I have a tendency to eat sort of the same 2 or 3 meats and the same handful of vegetables. I prep them up. Usually Sundays and Wednesdays are the 2 days that I'll prep some food in advance. And then I always have, rice cakes and cottage cheese and peanut butter around. So I feel like I'm in the groove after doing this for 3 years of knowing what I need to hit the macros. So the food prep is one time commitment. The gym and the cardio are the second 2. As far as it becoming more of a time commitment than that, I have to put the heels on. I have to practice in the heels. I have to practice my posing. But that honestly, in my opinion, is best done at like 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day. And then anything else that I do is because I enjoy it. And this has become a sport that I love. So I'm interested in watching a video on YouTube or reading an article or listening to a podcast. So that's not something other competitors may do, or if they do, it's out of interest, not out of necessity. You're not prescribing it to me. I'm choosing to do that because I'm interested.
Yeah. So tell everyone, like, kind of, because you've become so interested in this field, tell them like what your next step is.
Well, to say that you've changed my life, I'm really not trying to completely oversell, but I've told you many times, I credit you with really changing my life. I learned a great deal about eating. I learned a great deal about training. I'm much more interested in fitness and nutrition than I have ever been. And learning all of these nutrition components has made me very interested. So I'm going through level 1 nutrition coaching certification right now in hopes to be part of your team one day. It's all very, before we started this prep, so let's just say January, you told me right away, I'm not starting you in this prep unless your gut health issues are in check. And you feel like you can reverse out well. So there were 2 things that I did last time on my first prep that I didn't do well with, and you wanted to make sure I was going to handle them better this time.
Because ultimately, like, your health is number 1, right? Like, because bodybuilding is a little bit more on the extreme side. You have to be leaner than what's really healthy. And so I, as a coach, always want to make sure that you are staying healthy, number 1, both mentally and physically.
Yeah. Well, and you've waved the red flag at me a couple of times and said, well, wait a second, we need to do a check here and make sure that you're not pushing too hard or going too far. I think we had some blood work done, in my first season, because I was going a little bit longer than you maybe felt comfortable with. And you wanted to make sure that everything was good. So yeah, I mean, my gut health has been pretty poor my whole life. But where I'm at right now with an extreme goal of bodybuilding and getting this lean and knowing pretty much everything that goes into my body, it's a lot easier to work on the gut health issues, to get that food sensitivity testing done and remove the foods that don't work.
Yeah.
Because I know
Because you
exactly
are
what.
a little bit unique in that you do have sensitivities, right?
Yeah.
Like not
Mhm.
all people need to be aware of gluten, and we found out with you, you have a lot more food sensitivities than the average person, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, you've been starting to feel better ever since we've started to cut those out a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I want you to talk to my moms out there in this group.
Okay.
Okay. So, what would you say to a mom that is having a really hard time taking care of herself? She's always putting her kids first. What advice do you have for other moms?
You know, I'm going to go back to gut health here for just 1 second in order to say that I've been trying to figure out some gut health issues. There was a period of time of probably 15 years where I was trying to get that figured out. And those gut health issues affected my fertility, affected my sleep, affected my stress level. And when I started taking care of myself appropriately and eating well, I mean, my sleep has gotten better, my digestion has gotten better, my low back pain has gotten better because my digestive system isn't bothering it all the time. And just when your sleep is better, you have a little more energy. I'm doing the correct things in the gym and in the kitchen to have that energy. So I think your overall state, if you can start by taking care of yourself, your overall ability to take care of other people changes greatly. Um, and I guess I did realize that I had to prioritize myself. Like it just has to happen. Otherwise, I am not good for my husband. I'm not good for my kids. I'm not good at my job. Everything declines. As far as the busyness factor, there are times that we need to run through the drive-through. I'm picking up one child at this time and the other one on that one, and this one needs to go this direction, that one needs to go this direction. And we go through a drive-through. And as an example, right now, I can't eat anything that comes from a drive-through. So it's preparation. If I'm prepared and I have a rice cake with me, or I have my drink all made up and ready to go, or I have some chicken in the refrigerator ready to go, like I can be prepared and I know I'm going to be spending an hour, hour and a half in the car, and then I might choose to run some errands. I just always am prepared with what I need. And if I food prep twice a week in bulk, I have everything I need sitting in that refrigerator and I can grab and go. And the rest of it's the mindset of choosing to resist the temptation. I mean, the McDonald's fries smell amazing in the back seat. I just know that I can't have them. And so I choose not to eat them. Now, again, I'm going to say my goal right now is really extreme. A lot of moms, if they chose to do this, when I first started with you, when I chose to do this, I could have had a couple of fries and I could have tracked them and that would have been fine. I could have even had a burger as long as I tracked it and planned my day accordingly. So it's not that when I say you can't have it, I can't have it right now at this period in my life. There were most certainly times that I could, I just would have had to account for it. So it just takes planning, and we have to make the meals anyways. So whether you make them all in bulk on a Sunday or a Wednesday, or whether you make them right before you eat them, just plan for success. Have the right things in the refrigerator, know what you need to eat in your day. I don't feel like I'm spending that much additional time now than I was before.
Yeah. And I think that is like a great tip. Like you kind of hit the nail on the head. You're probably cooking something for your family anyway, right? So why don't you just take a little bit of extra time and like prep your stuff and be ultra organized? I feel like the busier people are, the more organized they have to be, right? To be
Definitely.
set up for success, for sure. Okay, so what other advice would you have for somebody who's looking to either start or change their health, fitness, nutrition journey?
Gosh, I don't know if I'm the right one to ask that because I'm in love with everything that I've learned. So again, I feel like I'm sort of trying to oversell it here, but um, I just think when you are feeling better and when you feel proud of what you've accomplished, you set a goal for yourself, you know that you're working on a goal for yourself, for your personal health and wellness, and you see yourself achieving it, that brings confidence, it brings pride, it brings a feeling of success. My kids are seeing me work hard at something. They're seeing me work hard at taking care of myself. And I know my own mother has asked me before, well, gosh, couldn't you skip the gym today and go do this with your daughter? And, every once in a while, I probably need to make that choice. But I do think I'm teaching her something bigger when I'm showing a commitment to myself. And then when I look at her and tell her she needs to make a commitment to herself, she can know that I practice what I preach. And when they see me cooking healthy and eating well, I really hope I'm establishing that with them too. I know they don't choose to eat everything that I eat, but I make sure that they have some protein and some vegetables every single day in every single meal. And if they're going to have the McDonald's, there's something else in their day that has to give that so that they're doing something nutritious. And I really hope that that will stick with them later on down the line. So I don't know. I just think when you do make that time for yourself and you set those goals and you see yourself accomplish them and your family sees you accomplish them, it's just a really positive thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any last things that you want to add, Michelle?
One thing that I missed when I was just talking about the drive-through, there's places that you can go if you have no choice but to go through the drive-through. There's no doubt that preparing a meal for 30 minutes in your kitchen does take more time than buzzing through the drive-through. If you're at Culver's, you can get a grilled chicken sandwich, ditch the bun, and you can ask for broccoli, and they'll give you broccoli in a soup cup. If you're at Noodles, you can get a Noodles kids meal with chicken and broccoli. And I forget, there's one other place that I've been to recently where if you ask for it, there are places that have drive-throughs that can accommodate some of what you want to accomplish. So sometimes you are getting the drive-through. It might not be as good as the French fries, but you're meeting your goal, you're staying on track, and it's an easy way to get something that's still healthy.
Yeah, so there are definitely alternatives for like the busyness of life, right?
Most
For
certainly.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us. There were so many like great golden nuggets there. It was so great to share your story, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
All right.